Hello, all you dreamers out there. Happy Halloween. It's time to talk about Dream Theater, which is a pretty cool band, minus a certain someone in it. But I enjoy them well enough to own a couple albums. And with a new one that came out last week, which absolutely slayed, it's time to rank all 15 Dream Theater albums. So let's get started with easily the worst one. So, The Astonishing. It's good to take risks, but sometimes they don't pay off. And this is one that really didn't pay off. It's basically an Arion album, which I'm already not too fond of, except James LaBrie plays every character. So let's just get this out of the way. James LaBrie. He's probably my second least favorite frontman ever. I hate his voice, especially when he goes like really high pitched or like tries to soothe you. I think he's fucking terrible. He barely writes his own lyrics, so he doesn't write any music, barely writes his own words, he barely does anything in the band. And anytime there's an instrumental song anywhere in these albums, it's always the best one. Because it doesn't have the fucking asshole being obnoxious on it. But yeah, man, it's 2 discs. It's way too goddamn long. I had the stupid microphone in the shot the whole time. I'm sorry about that. And the story is like something about taking down an empire with music. Gee, where have I heard that before? The only thing I can say good about this album is like, there's that bass part and the solo at the very end of New Beginnings, and it's pretty groovy. That's it. I hate every other second of this album because James LaBrie never shuts the fuck up. God, I hate it. I hate this album. Alright, then on to the first one. I think everyone can agree. Even not having James LaBrie on it, I thought, like, okay, well, this album already has something really good going for it. But no, it's not great either. The only thing, the reason that's above The Astonishing is the Yitzy Jam, Majesty Backwards. That shit absolutely slays. Set the Sun was pretty decent too, but overall, it's extremely forgettable. I think everyone could pretty much agree on that one. Okay, so this might be unpopular, but Awake, I think, is just pretty okay. I mean, there's nothing, like, really wrong with it, but there's not a lot on here that, like, is grabbing my attention. Except, 6 O'Clock has the best drum intro ever written. I mean, oh my god, that shit is so funky. I love Painkiller, 2x4. No, fuck 2x4. But yeah, Painkiller is like second place, but 6 O'Clock, man, that is goddamn, Portnoy is a beast. Space Dive Vest, I thought, also had a really good intro. And this, besides The Astonishing, is probably LaBrie's worst. I just get really angry listening to this album because he just hits these notes that I really don't like. So, I'm sorry, but it has to be number 13. So, Distance Over Time, again, a lot of these next albums I think are just kind of alright. Untethered Angel is a song that is pretty decent, and I know up until this point I've been like, yeah, fuck James LaBrie to hell. But sometimes, the vocals do work for me, and this song is one of them. There's some other good moments in Room 137 and Barstool Warrior, but it's just it's not very memorable, which is unfortunately all the albums past Portnoy, minus one. The self-titled album, again, pretty decent, but a little more decent than the last one. Enemy Inside was another good heavy song. Enigma Machine has some great classic jamming. I overall just love the tone of this album, like the guitars and the production overall. I think it sounds really cool. Again, most of the songs are just kind of forgettable, and I don't know, it's fine, I guess. So, dramatic turn of events. I don't know what happened, but like the first time I heard this album, I really liked it. Enough to buy it. But going back through it again, I don't know. I just thought it was just kind of more alright stuff. Got the Bridges in the Sky intro, which is pretty weird, but like the song itself, I really liked. Outcry is good. Breaking Illusions is pretty damn cool. What was that one song? Beneath the Surface, I think is pretty bleh. I don't know, maybe going through all the albums in a row and then getting back to this one, it just kind of dropped in quality, but maybe, I don't know. Listening to it again on its own might bump it up, but like, again, this is just kind of the fate of all these albums past Portnoy. -1. 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Now, this is like, I think the most middle of the road Dream Theater album. Everything below, I think, has been pretty below average, and this one is like the average line. Disc 1 has some pretty solid moments, none that like really stand out, but like I said, it's pretty standard stuff, except The Great Debate, which has a lot of sampling, which I've never been a huge fan of. And also, I think it's pretty weird how they flip, like, because usually Disc 1 is like, you know, like the grand epic, but instead of it's Disc 2 on this one. Disc 2, honestly, same thing. Overtures are always pretty awesome, but like, again, this, I don't have any like one song that stands out, but none of them that are really like super bland either. So, Falling into Infinity. I think that most people that I've seen think this is like one of their weakest, but I don't know, man. I think this one has a lot of songs and a lot of moments that are pretty damn good. The intro's great. There's a heavy part in Peruvian Skies, which is awesome. Burning My Soul is another one of those songs that the vocals actually kind of work for me. Hell's Kitchen has a really good instrumental jam in it. Trial of Tears has some standout moments in it too. And then I think Lines in the Sand is easily the highlight of this album. I think this one's a bit underrated, not gonna lie. I think this one is a lot better than people give it credit for. Which leads me into number 7. Now, this is where I'm gonna get blasted. Because this is a fucking super ass hot take, but Metropolis Part 2 is only like in the middle of their albums. Now, considered it's hailed as like one of the best concept progressive metal albums of all time, I think I would not go that far. It's still at number 7, okay? It's still better than a whole lot of their stuff. But I'm sorry, man. Beyond This Life is a pretty awesome track. Of course, The Dance of Eternity, best Dream Theater song. You know why. Fatal Tragedy, Finally Free gets really good. And Home, am I the only one that gets like mad Tool vibes from like the beginning of that song? But there's tracks like The Spirit Carries On and Through Her Eyes, which is just fucking horrible. Through Her Eyes is like the worst Dream Theater song. Because I'm sorry, I do not like their clean sections pretty much ever. I just think they're so damn cheesy and so generic. And then you got fucking Labrie trying to soothe you with his awful voice. And then you got like the Through Her Eyes, like the guitar bend. It's like, oh, come on, man. Fuck Through Her Eyes. Fuck that song. I mean, it is a pretty solid concept album. But yeah, people putting this at like the top 3, I don't know, man. I can't do that shit. So how was that controversial opinion? Pretty bad, right? Well, not as bad as this next one. Yeah, that's right. The new album, View from the Top of the World, clocking in number 6. And you know what? Over time, the reason it's at number 6 is because The Alien and Sleeping Giant are the only songs that like I don't care for too much, but everything else, all the other ones, completely slay. Transcending Time is just a super upbeat song. Awaken the Master, busting out the H string, and that goddamn riff immediately after the chorus absolutely slays. The whole last half of the title track, awesome. Labrie doesn't annoy me once in this whole album, which is a miracle. Mangini finally reaches the levels that Portnoy has set. Like this is what I was waiting for a Dream Theater album for the last, 8 years that I've been listening to them. I absolutely love this damn album. But there are, the 5 essential Dream Theater albums, I think, that are above it. But like I said, over time, if I end up liking Alien and Sleeping Giant more, this could easily bump up to top 3. And coming up next is another. This is like the trilogy of hot takes, all 3 back to back, because another one of their classic albums is not near number 1. Because Images and Words, I think, is number 5. But still, though, number 5 that's pretty good. It's pretty good, bro. Pull Me Under, obviously, is their one greatest hit, and some other pretty cool songs. We got Take the Time, which has a really cool instrumental break in it. Metropolis Part 1, Under a Glass Moon are all pretty fire, too. I mean, this is one major step up from their first album. But I just think there's a couple albums that just work even better for me. Train of Thought is one chunky ass album. As I Am has some nice chunky riffs, and Labrie actually kind of kills it in this song. Honor Thy Father is another brutal ass song. This album, it kind of sounds like a completely different band. The whole thing is nice and brutal, and it's definitely a nice, unique Dream Theater album. By far their heaviest record. Black Clouds and Silver Linings is just more really good Dream Theater material. There's a couple points where they kind of go super fast, and that's really cool because they don't do that barely ever. The epics are very epic, and The Best of Times should have had Portnoy singing on it because, that's some pretty personal stuff, he's writing about, and to have Labrie to sing those words, I think, is a tragedy. That's the fatal tragedy they were talking about in Metropolis Part 2. Labrie singing The Best of Times. Systematic Chaos has my favorite Dream Theater song, which is Dark Eternal Night, because every riff in that song, especially the very last one, oh my god, that is the most headbangable riff they've ever written. Constant Motion is super cool. In the Presence of Enemies is awesome. I can't think of any low points on this album at all. Honestly, this could be number 1. 1 and 2 could flip-flop a lot. Because I think they're both pretty much perfect. But there's a couple of things about our number 1 pick that just push it a little bit above this one. And that, of course, is Octavarium. Just the whole idea behind this album, I think, is really cool. Having 8 songs and each of them written in the key of an octave. And the way the album ends with the same note as the beginning of The Root of All Evil, making a full octave. I just think that's just a cool, really cool idea. But even besides that, the songs, The Root of All Evil is really cool. These Walls, fucking Panic Attack. Never Enough has a pretty different vibe from the rest, and I think that's a pretty underrated song. And then, of course, you have the title track, man. I mean, oh my god. The last, when he's screaming, trapped inside this octavarium, man, I think Labrie actually, really slays during that part. I mean, it escalates so much to that point, and then it just explodes. Oh, and it plays out so nicely. It's mostly Panic Attack and the title track that push it a little bit above Systematic Chaos. But yeah, this is one fierce-ass album. And it's my personal favorite Dream Theater album. And that's going to do it for my list. I know we forgot Change of Seasons, but like that's just one original song and a bunch of covers. And the song itself is really good. Probably like, it could bump into like the top 10. But that's my list. Like, I'm sorry if you really like Metropolis 2, but I don't know. They just, I think the 2000s, Dream Theater were absolutely slaying it because all these like top 5 albums all came out in the 2000s. So I think that was just like their super golden years. But anyway, be sure to let me know what you guys like, and probably like tomorrow or the next day I will have my Mastodon review, and then we're ranking them, and then I don't know what I'm doing after that, but we'll figure it out. But until then, happy Halloween again, and yeah, listen to Hushed and Grim because it's pretty cool.